Hello, I'm Diego Saldivar, a Neurogame developer, and I have something to say. So, Neurogames have existed in one way or another for the past 25 years or so, although, as we all very well know, they have not been very commercially successful. Not in comparison to video games, which sell hundreds of thousands, if not millions of copies a year per game. It is usually said that the games industry has far more revenue than the music and the film industry put together, so that is quite successful. Why then have newer games not been as successful? I have already made a small video about why I think they have not been economically successful from a business side point of view, but also I think that there might be an issue with the way the design is approached, which is absolutely natural. The intent most of the time is to either demonstrate functionality or to help people deal with their own emotions in a very specific manner. The intent of Neurogames so far very seldom is to have fun, although there have been some very fun Neurogames that also have sadly not reached a very high success. This is not to say that all neurogames or neurotech experiences are impossible to market. In fact, some of them look downright fascinating. However, it is often the case that these artistic BCI experiences meant to be enjoyed by the larger public are a bit too abstracted and removed from the user. Passive BCI, as it's often called, has a way of using particle effects, colors, shapes, and animations and drive them through brainwaves. However, these usually lack feedback that each individual user can understand as a meaningful reaction to their own mental state. That is to say, how do I make the cloud go red or green or blue? It just does, and I don't understand why or how it does. It just looks nice. And it happens to look nice because apparently it's reading my mind or something. However, that's not the only kind of democratized neurotech experiences. Some, the therapeutic neurogames out there, actually work like games. They have feedback and graphics and music, a story and narration. But the approach takes meditation as the highest form of neural self-regulation. And while this approach has helped so many people and continues to help people to self-regulate and know themselves, the idea that asceticism and temperance is the noblest form of thought comes more from a religious background, where the main point of this exercise is to devoid yourself of feeling and thought in order to achieve internal peace. But I believe that this approach might be invalidating a whole range of emotions, and these philosophies do reflect on how we view ourselves as humans and how we talk about ourselves in our own media. If I could bring these approaches to fiction, may I remind you that there's this franchise that talks about things that happened in a very far, far away galaxy a long, long time ago, where feelings are labeled as good and bad. Using good feelings will make you a very virtuous Jedi, while indulging in the bad feelings, such as grief, pain, anger, will lead you into a very dark Sith path. In this case, exploring uncomfortable emotions is taken as sinful or something to be avoided at all costs, for they can corrupt you into a very harmful and evil path. But maybe this is a bit too reductive. Maybe this lacks a little bit of nuance. If I could bring our narrative to a much nearby galaxy in a future not so far away, let's see the example, for instance, of a race of humanoids which have very strong emotions, which they learn to suppress or dominate thanks to the teachings of Surak, who advocates for the use of logic, calculation, and science in order to arrive to a consensus that will minimize the pain and bring peace. The other side of the coin, the Romulans, who are very close to the Vulcan, have rejected the teachings of Zurich in order to allow their emotions to drive them to a more warlike path. And from this philosophical branch stems the sisterhood of the Qowat Milat, who advocate for a path of absolute candor, which embraces all emotions in order to arrive to an honest conclusion, especially in lost causes, where violence is used as a last resort instead of the main means of exploring the universe. If I could unfairly draw a parallelism with real life, let me talk a little bit about cognitive behavioral therapy. It is a kind of therapy where you try to rationalize feelings that are uncomfortable to you so that you're not chained and subservient to these emotions, but rather learn to dismiss them a little bit in order to achieve some sort of mental peace. This approach views emotions as something that is self-inflicted instead of as cognitive tools that are just part of your cognitive toolset. If I could bring myself from therapy into the entertainment industry, I would like to talk about improv exercises. When you're in an improv theater workshop, you may learn a few exercises to warm up your theatrical skills. One of my favorites is extreme emotions. In this exercise, you're supposed to choose an emotion, then locate it within your body. Where is it located? What's its shape? What is its color? Its smell? Temperature? You try to focus on that emotion and then make it grow and grow and grow until you release it in a burst of very exaggerated emotion. And then you flush it down in order to make space for the next emotion, which could be any other emotion. You could go from anger to happiness to pride to grief very, very quickly. And this is just a way to warm up your theatrical skills in order to better express your character's emotions on stage by drawing from your own emotions. In this case, you are much more in control of the emotions, using them in a very precise manner. Although the intention is far from therapeutic, there might be some therapeutical value in empowering the person to deal with their emotions in a way that's much more mindful, validating all emotions as useful, as desirable, as something that you want to feel, instead of trying to avoid them. Again, when it comes to therapeutical neurogames, there is great value in teaching one new cognitive skill to someone who needs it. However, when it comes to entertaining neurogames, this might not be enough. This might be too linear, too simplistic. Can you imagine, as a game designer, what things you could do with a wider range of emotions? If you only have one single indicator, like level of calmness, maybe you could use calmness to make the player more transparent. The calmer you are, the more invisible you are to your enemies. But what about the other side of the coin? If you're not calm, would you make things explode? Would you jump higher? Would you be able to give your enemies a panic attack? What could you do with two sides of one coin? Now, usually, neurogames have a few markers that you can use out of the box without having to train the computer to recognize certain patterns. These are usually focus, calmness, and flow, which you can use both ways and also in a gradient. So as a game designer, it is up to you to think, how can I make the most out of the limited toolset that I have in order to make this fun, engaging, and entertaining? Remember, the main point of a game is to entertain, to have fun. Most of the time, meditation is not that fun, but video games, yes, they are. How can we make neurogames much more fun? As a quick aside, as I was editing, I saw this very interesting news in the form of a meme. For those who are not Spanish speakers, it basically says, this is how the scientific community looks like as they're looking at a subatomic particle that Microsoft created for their quantum computer. They're going, oh, damn, where did you get this shit, dude? The anonymized reaction below says, they create a new state of matter, but they cannot make a decent game for Xbox. Now, while many of these terms might be debatable, I do agree with the sentiment, especially when it comes to democratizing technology. For as wonderful and bombastic as technological developments have been in the past century, direct application has been somewhat less than what they promised. And when it comes to neurotechnology, yes, they have developed quite a lot, especially when it comes to using it for scientific and therapeutical purposes, as I have previously explained. But when it comes to game development, there is only so much that scientists can do where art is concerned. Not because they are not artistic in and of themselves, but because they might not be familiar with the tools, the philosophies, techniques, and best practices of artistic and entertainment industries. And that is okay. Thus, I would like to continue urging and encouraging the game development community to open their arms to newer technologies as part of game development. I think we have a lot to gain by using our expertise in game development while using new emerging technologies. The world requires a breath of fresh air. And who better to do so than those who are in the business of entertainment? I just wanted to share these thoughts before I come with an announcement. A very relevant announcement, in fact. And so, in order to lead by example, I would like to talk about this small little project I have where I want to make a Neurogame that is simply fun and cheap and easy to use. Although I do already have the design nailed down, I have not been as active as I should be when developing it, which is why I would like to make this announcement in order to keep myself accountable. Very soon, I shall be releasing a freemium Neurogame for Android devices. In the game, you can use the dark side in a fun way. I will be unveiling some juicy details about it as the trademark filings go through. You can expect some very interesting footage soon enough. And with that, I thank you for your time. I hope that this small little rant of mine gave you some pause and food for thought. I hope that it also inspires you to make your own Neurogames. The more, the merrier. After all, a Neurogame market cannot exist with only one person making Neurogames. There must be a diversity of games in order to drive gamers into adopting Neurogames. Again, thank you very much, and I will be seeing you around. Bye-bye.